All right, I think we're up and running. Hey everyone, it's the May, that's the month we're in. It's the May live chat with me, Barron, the Director of Skincare Research and Clinical Development at Paula's Choice Skincare, coming at you live from the home office in the great state of Michigan. Today's topic is going to be a deeper dive, if you will, into one of our brand new products. It is the Calm Barrier Protect Mineral Sunscreen SPF 30. So I'm going to be talking mostly about that product, but I am happy to answer any skincare or beauty related questions that you may have during this time. So start populating the chat box and we will get things going. What else? General housekeeping news. Had a really good week last week. Well, two good weeks in a row. Two kind of unconventional weeks. We several of us from the company, from the United States and all over the world, traveled to the Los Angeles area for a global brand summit, which was really cool. I had a lot of good discussions and good discussions with colleagues in person. It was just so fulfilling to be able to see so many people that I ordinarily only talk to on a screen, because we are a hybrid work company, and of course our teams over in Europe, over in various Asian countries. We had our new representative there from Australia. Just so cool to meet all these people, and along with our business meetings and getting able to share some new product development with them, which I would love to be able to share with you, but it's just too soon. We had some great discussions just about that involved getting to know each other better. You know, what makes me tick, what makes them tick, what are the interests outside of work, what drew them to Paula's Choice. Because, they're speaking of choice, when you're looking to be employed in the cosmetics industry, there are a lot, just like there are a lot of brands you can buy products from. If you have the requisite skill set for what various brands are hiring for, there's a lot of skincare or makeup or hair care brands that you could work for. And I am really, really happy that Paula's Choice has attracted such an impressive roster of talent from all over the world that is just completely on board with our mission to provide you with the best possible products for your skin and the most research supported information to help you make the best decisions about how to handle your skin. Whether you're using Paula's Choice products or somebody else's, the foundation of what we do is knowledge and our abiding concept that beauty begins with truth. So that was a really, really wonderful time. We stayed at a beautiful place, and I'm looking forward to doing that again in the next year or two. And then I met with a couple other coworkers the following week in New York for a massive show called Suppliers Day. It is 2 days of intense meetings, and it just, when I say intense days, it's like it's a business type day that literally starts. You're like out of your hotel room, dressed and ready for the day by like 7:30. You're in breakfast meetings. You're going to the show. You're going out with people after the show. Then you're going to after show parties that the suppliers put on, and it's kind of nuts, but in a fun way. Just not in a way that at my age I would, I couldn't do that every single work week. It's a lot. But just dropped my prop. What was particularly nice about this trip is that my husband got to go with me. And so while I was walking the show and having meetings with coworkers and various companies that Paula's Choice works with and those that we may start working with, he was able to explore more of New York on foot. And it's been about 5 years since he had been back to New York City. I'm lucky enough to get to go there at least once, sometimes 2 or 3 times a year for business. And it was really nice to introduce him to my boss and have him be able to join us for some dinner. So, this is my first full week back in the office in 2 weeks, and I saw that I had this live chat coming up, and I was like, okay, I got to get into this Let's Talk Sunscreen mode. So the Calm Barrier Protect Mineral Sunscreen rounds out the relaunch of our Calm line. And for those of you who may not be familiar, the Calm collection from Paula's Choice is our line for people who have people of all ages, all skin types, whose main concern is sensitivity or redness, just basically skin that feels uncomfortable. It may be itchy, it may be flaky. It tends to react to things both from internal and external sources. You may even have the skin disorder rosacea, which is surprisingly common, and it can happen regardless of your skin color. The lighter your skin, the more apparent rosacea is going to be. But if you have a more melanated skin, you're not immune from rosacea. And we know what's interesting about that disorder, not to get off on a tangent too much, but we still don't know what causes it for sure. There's still various theories. It does tend, or at least in the literature, what's reflected there is that it tends to be more common in people of Northern European descent. So your Fitzpatrick types 1s and 2s, your lighter skin folks. However, there is a growing consensus that rosacea afflicts darker skin tones. They just don't, and the doctors who treat them aren't as familiar with how to recognize it. And so there's a worry, if you will, that among people with Fitzpatrick skin types 5 and 6, which are typically people of African descent, brown to black skin, they can be dealing with rosacea, and because it doesn't present the same way, and there isn't as much education in those communities around what rosacea is, it ends up being underdiagnosed or misdiagnosed. So that's just something to keep in mind if you are a person of color and your skin is feeling, you go through bouts where your skin feels itchy and tight and it feels hot to the touch, almost like the sensation you feel in your face when you get really embarrassed and you get that vasodilation. Your blood vessels dilate, more blood rushes, and your skin starts feeling hot just in those areas. Pay particular attention to that if you are reacting like that under certain circumstances. For example, whenever you go out in bright sunlight, or whenever you cook over a hot stove, or whenever you eat something that is spicier than what you're used to. Some people even experience issues around that when they consume alcoholic beverages. Red wine is implicated quite a bit. So just something to watch out for. But circling back, the Calm collection is for people like you who have sensitive, redness prone, or reactive skin that seems to be easily irritated and often without rhyme or reason. So, brand new daytime moisturizer with SPF. This is for all skin types. It has SPF 30. It is $39 US retail price for a 2-ounce opaque squeeze tube. There's a kind of a close-up of what it looks like. It's kind of an opaque white cream. As you can see, it's not really runny. I mean, I'm moving my finger and it's not just slip-sliding right down there. So you may, this is definitely a product that starts creamy, but it thins out quite a bit and actually feels really hydrating and refreshing as soon as you start massaging it into skin. And there's no tint, no iron oxides or other cosmetic pigments in this product. So it's the mineral actives of titanium dioxide and zinc oxide that are providing the broad spectrum protection, SPF 30. And you can see no sunscreen, barrier, protect, mineral sunscreen. I am not detecting a white cast at all, but being the skin color that I am, it is, believe it or not, I think it's definitely more of an issue for people of color. But on the other end of the color spectrum, on the light end of the color spectrum, mineral sunscreens can make somebody with my skin color look cadaverish, or like all of the color's been drained from our face if there is a noticeable white cast. So I'll go into detail as I discuss the key ingredients as to what the steps we took to minimize that as much as possible without resorting to a tint. But having said that, I did want to put out there that some people with darker skin may find that this is not their cup of tea. It's tricky. I wish I've yet to see a brand launch a pure mineral sunscreen that's at least SPF 30 with no tint that universally looks good on a wide range of skin tones. So we tried to check as many boxes as possible, but I just wanted to say, despite what I think is an impressive outcome, and definitely a big leap from the previous Calm Mineral sunscreen, both of them, there was one for normal to dry, one for normal to oily skin. Just wanted to put that out there that if you do have a dark to very dark skin, you may notice somewhat of a white cast. It doesn't need to be a concern if you're going to be following this with foundation. Unless you're going to also be putting it on your neck and you don't want to take makeup down to your neck. So you're going to have to experiment, because it's possible that you may find that you need to use a non-mineral sunscreen from the neck down, and maybe if you are a person of color that has sensitive skin, you want to try this, and you're going to be putting a foundation or some other type of a tinted product over it. It'll be just fine. All right. This is such a gentle formula that even people with rosacea can use it, and very obvious point. In terms of what does it do, it provides broad spectrum protection, again, via those general mineral actives. Again, it's not going to leave a white cast on most skin tones. But it really, for a mineral based moisturizer, I love how this just slips over skin to help protect. It feels hydrating without feeling greasy or slick or oily. And some of the actives in there, or the bioactives I should say, help support a healthy microbiome and help reduce signs of aging that can be exaggerated when skin is also sensitive. So ultimately, I think it's a brilliant way to shield skin from those aging UV rays while reducing signs and sensations of sensitivity. And then you're left with a fresh, that non-greasy, but still kind of radiant look that really works beautifully under makeup. We have some colleagues of mine are just over the moon about this sunscreen, including our brand director, Sarah. And so I always love it when the products that we work on just get our colleagues, our fellow Paula's Choice staffers just really excited, and this is definitely one of them. So the formula's key ingredients, beyond the broad spectrum sun protection, also promote barrier repair. They deliver anti-redness benefits, and again, that microbiome support, so your skin looks and feels less sensitive now and over time. This daytime moisturizer absolutely should not sting or burn your skin. I also wanted to call out, and I'll go into a little bit more detail about these, it does contain some very soothing anti-inflammatory antioxidants, including Centella asiatica, that help reduce those signs of aging and repair signs of past environmental damage. So the point I'm making here is that just because this is a daytime moisturizer with sunscreen for sensitive skin doesn't mean that you're giving up on those powerhouse anti-aging benefits beyond what just wearing sunscreen does. This is still very much front-loaded with ingredients that are going to help skin look and act younger, so you don't need to feel like it's not as good in the anti-aging category as, for example, the SPFs in our resist range. So special notes on this formula. Its impressive texture and nearly imperceptible feel are due to our blend of non-irritating caprylic capric triglyceride coupled with skin identical glycerin. And we are, just as a quick side note, in this formula, we're using pharmaceutical grade glycerin, which is incredibly pure. The reason for that is because we wanted to take every step possible to make sure that we are offering you a product that was just so gentle, even somebody with the most reactive skin could use it. It also has a silicone-like emollient that's not a silicone called diheptyl succinate, and that is mixed with an ingredient called capryl oil glycerin sebacic acid copolymer, which helps basically give it some body, give it some smooth aesthetic so that it just glides over skin. This is not a mineral sunscreen, unlike a lot that I've tried in the past, that you just are blending and blending and blending and blending. It just goes on and fits like a second skin. There is another ingredient, kind of an unsung hero, called C1519 alkane that really adds a nice velvety feel that also helps. It's kind of doing double duty because it also helps disperse the mineral filters for even coverage and protection. Because those mineral filters that we're using are supplied as powders. So they need, in order for a dry powder to disperse in a water-based emulsion, you need ingredients that help the individual powder particles blend evenly through the formula, so that when you're putting it on, you are getting, assuming you're applying it evenly on your skin, you're also getting even protection. There aren't vulnerable spots on your skin because the particles have kind of bunched up, and so more of them end up here, fewer here, a little bit more here, that type of thing. We also added a special ferment that helps condition skin and enable it to produce antimicrobial peptides, which that helps reduce our reliance on conventional preservatives that can pose a risk of irritation for those with highly sensitive skin. So again, we looked at this from every angle, is like, how can we create the gentlest possible facial SPF that is mineral based and is going to be elegant and protective and also deliver those soothing benefits that people with sensitive reactive skin need. To that end, we also eliminated common emulsifiers that could be sensitizing for those with more delicate or reactive complexions. Emulsifiers in a water-based formula are critical. They help keep unlike ingredients like water and oil together. If you do not have emulsifiers in a formula or some sort of an emulsification process, those two unlike ingredients, and the great example is to think about what happens with a vinegar and oil salad dressing. When you let it sit on the table for a while, you know, after you've shaken it up, what happens, those two phases, the water phase and the oil phase, separate. The water portion rises, or in this case vinegar, rises to the top. The oil, because it is heavier, sits at the bottom half. Is Calm Barrier Protect Mineral Sunscreen suitable for acne-prone skin? Yes, although it does contain 3 plant oils. We've got, I believe, sunflower, jojoba, and Escherium plantagenarium. It's one of our newer non-fragrant plant oils that we really like. They're present in amounts that are highly unlikely to clog pores. And even though, having said that, people with acne-prone skin who prefer a mineral sunscreen that has a shine-free finish really should take a look at our Resist Super Light Daily Wrinkle Defense SPF 30 sunscreen instead. But as somebody with combination skin, that, honestly, I'm getting less and less prone to breakouts as I get older. I don't know if there's a correlation there, because certainly people who are in their 50s, as I am officially now, still feels weird to say, you can still break out. So I wish people getting into their 5th and 6th decades, could look back and say, well, my knee joint may hurt, but at least no more pimples, and that's not always the case. So, moving on from that point, how is this mineral sunscreen different from Paula's Choice other moisturizers that contain mineral-based sunscreens? Although all of those with mineral-derived UV filters are considered gentle, and each, as with all of our products, is fragrance-free, The Calm Barrier Protect Mineral Moisturizer SPF 30 is specifically formulated for sensitive, reactive skin of any age. It is an all skin types formula. You're getting a higher load and a more specific blend of soothing plant-derived oils and extracts in that nice, elegant, light cream texture that spreads easily, and it's not going to make skin look super shiny. It's not going to feel slick. And again, for most people, it will not leave a discernible cast on skin. Research has shown that sensitive and redness-prone skin is partly due to an impaired microbiome and moisture barrier. So again, this is all about making a more specific formula. We've chosen ingredients proven to target those issues so that extra sensitive skin becomes stronger, becomes healthier, becomes more resilient in the face of environmental damage. So we're knowing that people with sensitive reactive skin are simply more vulnerable to any environmental stressor, whether it's UV light, blue light, airborne pollutants, that type of thing. We wanted to make sure that everything, all of the bioactives beyond the UV filters really work to target what are the drivers of that sensitivity? What are the drivers of that reactive skin? How can we set skin up for success so it is able to withstand those and not fall prey to those signs and sensations of sensitivity? All right, the key ingredients and how they work. We went with a blend of the filters, so rather than use just zinc oxide, we opted for titanium dioxide, that's in there at 5.25%, and zinc oxide, which is in there at 3.6%. These are what, of course, is giving you the broad spectrum protection without stinging or irritating sensitive or delicate skin. You can even use this around the eyes without worry that it's going to cause stinging or burning. The nano-sized titanium dioxide is coated, meaning that, well, I'll explain that a little bit more in a sec. But it uses special dispersion technology to deliver total transparency due to a tightly controlled particle size distribution that really helps to eliminate that whitening effect, but still maintains the SPF efficacy and is even more stable in the presence of UV light than traditional titanium dioxide can be. The zinc oxide is nano-sized as well. It's 100 nanometers in average size, and that provides a high level of protection as well as that even distribution on skin. So although both of the filters are nano, the smaller titanium dioxide and the zinc oxide particles are bonded or wrapped in one of two ingredients. The zinc oxide has an ingredient called triethoxycaprylosilane, and the titanium dioxide is wrapped or bonded with polyhydroxystearic acid. Both of these binding agents have a larger molecular size that makes it impossible for the nanoparticles of zinc and or titanium to get past skin's surface layers. So you can kind of think of it like a key that's trapped in a plastic bubble, which would make it impossible for it to fit into a lock. You've got to be able to break through that bubble to get the key to work, but the bubble isn't going to break. Turning to ingredients, the key ingredients outside of the UV filters, we are using allantoin, which is present in pretty much, I think, all of the leave-on products in our Calm range. Various levels, but definitely used at a higher level in this formula. Allantoin is a long-proven skin-soothing ingredient. We are using a USP-grade synthetic form of allantoin. The natural form is typically derived from the comfrey plant, and the comfrey plant, the various parts of that plant, can have what are called alkaloid compounds that can provoke skin irritation. So again, sensing that theme here, we really have your back or your sensitive skin in terms of the very careful selection of ingredients to make sure that this is one of the gentlest, but still active in terms of like what it's doing to help protect and improve your skin, SPFs out there. So how does allantoin work? It essentially helps to soothe and heal irritated skin by down-regulating inflammatory substances that keep skin in a stressed state and it's proven to help prevent allergic reactions on skin. It does this by reducing the histamine response that leads to signs of skin allergy like itching, swelling, and also redness. And it helps to suppress irritation-provoking substances that cause skin to feel uncomfortable, as well as allantoin also plays a role in helping to reinforce or preserve a healthy barrier function for skin. Great ingredient. It's an oldie but a goodie. Turning to some newer innovation, we included the prebiotics inulin and alpha-glucan oligosaccharide. The inulin is chicory root, that's where it's derived from, and the alpha-glucan oligosaccharide is fermentation derived, and both of those ingredients were chosen because they help stabilize skin's microbiome by giving it prebiotics, or the food source it can use to make its own probiotics. That's important because unlike just giving skin certain probiotics, because everyone's microbiome is different, it makes much more sense to feed the microbiome the prebiotics it needs and then let it do its job per individual to make sure that your microbiome is as healthy and strong and balanced as possible. So, these prebiotic ingredients help support the growth of the desirable or commensal, another way to say that is skin-friendly bacteria, and that leads to a competitive growth inhibition of the pathogenic or bad bacteria like Staphylococcus aureus, which is known to promote and prolong sensitive skin disorders like atopic dermatitis. Atopic dermatitis is kind of an umbrella term for disorders of the skin like eczema that typically are due to, there can be genetic factors, but there's almost always an impaired barrier, an insufficient supply of key proteins like lyricin that skin needs in order to form a healthy barrier. There may be a lipid deficiency, meaning that skin isn't able to make or hold on to its own ceramides. Those are the, like if the lyricin and other proteins are the bricks, those lipids, ceramides, cholesterol, free fatty acids, those are the mortar that hold those skin cells together. So you need both to have a strong barrier and to be able to reduce your risk of having a sensitized response. So the commensal bacteria essentially contribute to a healthy microflora or microbiome by inhibiting both the colonization and the biofilm formation of that bad bacteria, which again, left unchecked, that can easily stir up signs and sensations of sensitivity. So we definitely wanted to make sure that this product targeted the microbiome in as positive a way as possible. We're upregulating the good, we are downregulating the bad, or at least not giving the bad a chance to set up shop, if you will, and make itself at home. It is not that those pathogens, when their populations get too high, they are not welcome on your skin. You do not want them there. They are unwelcome house guests. Secondary benefit of that oligosaccharide and chicory root blend is the reinforcing of skin's moisture barrier, which is going to help sensitive skin to better withstand those external triggers that lead to negative reactions. We also included Centella asiatica extract, which contains various compounds that deliver antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, moisturizing, and barrier replenishing effects to skin. The most bioactive and beneficial compounds in the Centella asiatica plant are asiaticoside, which that compound helps to boost collagen production and encourages a better healing response from skin and promotes normal skin renewal. And it also delivers, that's one of the more potent antioxidant and soothing compounds in the Centella asiatica plant. There's also metazecoside. I may have butchered that. That's kind of how I've taught myself to pronounce it. But it is another Centella compound that works to soothe irritated, itchy, and flaky skin. The amount of Centella this sunscreen contains has been shown to boost skin's content of a protein called hydroxyproline that is a fibrous component of collagen. Centella asiatica extract Another thing I like about it is it can also help skin look and feel younger through promoting healthy collagen synthesis and helping to ensure that the collagen that is synthesized is strong instead of weak or fragmented. Another ingredient is trehalose, which is a naturally derived plant sugar or a disaccharide that helps bind moisture. It strengthens skin's barrier function by promoting the what's called lamellar structure formation of those intercellular lipids or ceramides that go on to become ceramides. These lipid structures, again, they are healthy. They're essential for a healthy and intact moisture barrier. So it's nice to be able to put something on skin that can stimulate, getting my S words mixed up, ceramide synthesis, but the ceramides need to know where to go and how they fit into this lipid structure in order to best help your skin. So the trehalose is working to assist with that. And interestingly, those with inherently sensitive skin tend to be deficient in those lipid structures. They either don't have enough of them compared to non-sensitive skin, or they are poorly formed. So if you think about it, it's sort of like people with sensitive skin, the lipid structure can be more like a chain link fence, which is fairly easy to break down and get through. Versus people with non-sensitive skin, instead of having that more porous chain link fence, they have a brick wall. That's very strong. The mortar has set. You really have to work and hammer at that brick wall to get past its protective abilities. The hydrating effects of the trehalose have been confirmed even in a dry environment or low humidity environment, which is great. So no matter where you live, when you're wearing this, your skin is nicely protected from moisture loss. And on another note, I like that trehalose has also been shown to protect skin to a certain degree from UVB damage. And it does this by helping skin to break down and destroy those UV damaged cells before they go on to cause deeper irreparable damage. Because remember, those skin cells, particularly when we're getting down to the living cells called keratinocytes, which UVA ray or UV rays in general absolutely influence and damage, all of those cells talk to each other. Not talk as in like, hey Phil, how's the weather? But they send signals, they send messages and they're programmed to listen for those messages, interpret them, and follow them. So unlike two humans having a conversation where somebody might ask you to do something, you're like, wait a minute, that doesn't sound right. Why do you want me to do it that way? Or why are you asking me to do this? The cell doesn't do that. Even if it knows it's hearing the wrong message, it's just going to go out and carry on that command. And that's what can happen, very simplified, when cells are damaged by things like UV light. They can start doing things to other living undamaged cells that we don't want to have happen. Another one that I wanted to call out, another of the bioactives, is lecithin, and that is a phospholipid which forms the backbone, or again, going back to that analogy, the building blocks of all ceramides. As such, that absolutely lecithin plays an important role in shoring up skin's barrier and preventing moisture loss. The lecithin that we used in the Barrier Protect Mineral Sunscreen is soy-derived. We're occasionally asked that for people that have soy allergies. This is soy-derived lecithin, and it's also hydrogenated, which significantly improves its stability. The type of lecithin we're using has a particularly high content of phosphatidylcholine, all these big long words, which is a type of phospholipid that gives further heightens the soothing and the humectant or moisture binding properties that this ingredient has. A few other additional points to mention: the Barrier Protect Mineral Sunscreen SPF 30 is not tested on animals. It is fragrance free, it's paraben free, it is considered vegan, and it is siloxane free. Technically not silicone free, since the formula contains that triethoxycaprylyl that I mentioned earlier, and that is a liquid silane that is used to coat the zinc oxide. Silanes are a type of polymer made of silica, or silicon, not silica, silicon and hydrogen. And in cosmetics, they're typically used to coat nano-sized mineral UV filters, which keeps them from penetrating past skin's surface. And this benefit enables cosmetically elegant and more visually appealing mineral UV filters, but also ensures that the smaller particle size doesn't pose a health risk to your skin because of penetration going someplace in skin that we don't want it to go. And that is obviously not the goal. With any UV filter, you want to keep it in skin's uppermost layers. It's first line of defense. You would not want UV filters, for example, penetrating all the way down to the dermis. What's left, in the epidermal layers and on skin's surface to protect it if the UV filters are going that far in skin, which thankfully they're not. When to use this in the routine, this is the last product that you would apply during your morning routine. If you typically wear makeup like a liquid or powder foundation, that would be applied next. I always encourage people who wear liquid foundation over a sunscreen to be careful that they're applying the liquid foundation in gentle, then blending in gentle downward strokes, either with fingers, a brush, or a sponge, beauty blender, whatever your applicator tool of choice is. What you don't want to do, though, particularly with the sponges, because I think there's more of a tendency for this to happen when you're using a sponge of some sort, you don't want to rub that sunscreen off. And one of the ways that you can help minimize this, separate from just being careful during makeup application, is to give this a good 10 minutes or so to really absorb and set before you move on to makeup. This is not a water resistant facial sunscreen, so if you know that you are going to be swimming or sweating profusely, mild perspiration with something like this on is fine. I'm talking like playing a round of tennis, in mid-morning or early afternoon with the sun, high above. You'd want to pick a different sunscreen for your face that is labeled water resistant. You'd also want to make sure if you're outdoors and doing those types of activities to reapply every 2 hours and or 40 minutes or 80 minutes if your skin is has prolonged exposure to water. Some people have asked, are there any ingredients or products that this sunscreen isn't compatible with? And the answer is no. However, for those with sensitive skin, it is extra important to pay attention to all the ingredients in your skincare product and how your skin responds to the mix of products you use. Putting in a plug for the entire Calm collection, it's specifically formulated to be extra gentle, soothing, and restorative, so that ongoing use is really going to help improve several parameters of sensitive skin, both the signs of it, like redness and a blotchy tone, and the sensations, such as skin feeling slightly itchy or tight. Another question that's come up is, can this product be used with prescription retinoids or acne products? It absolutely can, but if you are under the care of a dermatologist, be sure to let them know which skincare products you are using with your prescription retinoid and or anti-acne medication. I can't imagine any dermatologist who is familiar with skincare ingredients and sunscreen formulas looking at this and advising their patient against it, unless they know or suspect that this patient may have an allergy to one of the ingredients in the product. So one other thing I wanted to mention before I get over to questions is that this, another question that I've seen come up is why SPF 30? Why not SPF 50? The actual SPF of this product is 33.9. That is what the testing showed. We opted to round down to 30, which is completely permissible. The FDA's guidelines are, once you know your SPF rating from their approved testing, which we have gone through, all that fun stuff, the critical wavelength. It is at the brand's discretion if they want to advertise the actual SPF, in this case 33.9, or if they want to go lower. You cannot go higher. So for example, if you get a 33.9, you can't come to market and say SPF 35. Nope, you didn't get that far. Various permutations of this formula where we attempted to reach SPF 50, there was too much of a compromise on the aesthetics, and we weren't happy. So we tried. I mean, SPF 30 for many people is still going to be more than adequate for daytime protection. Particularly, would I describe this as a sunscreen that you'd want to slather on before a day at the beach? No, there are better options for that. For one, most beachy type sunscreens are water resistant, which you absolutely want, because chances are if you're at the beach, you're either going to be going into a pool, you're going to be showering at some point, and then going back to the beach, meaning like the showers that they have at the edges, so you can get the sand off, or you're going to be going in the ocean, or a lake, or a stream, or you're going to be getting wet. You need a water-resistant sunscreen. For the person with sensitive reactive skin, that is, their daylight exposure consists of walking to the car, driving to an office, or driving to do a few errands, walking into a store, walking back. You're basically getting 2 hours or less of concentrated or even diffused UV exposure. SPF 30 is going to be very sufficient. Is there a time and a place for SPF 50? Of course there is. People who know that they have skin that is just more sun sensitive overall may want to go with an SPF 50 or higher every day. It just gets, when you get closer to that 50 mark, I wish it was different, and hopefully in the future it will be. And I know a lot of brands, including us, are continuing to work on this. It gets trickier and trickier to get an aesthetically pleasing appearance on skin and feel like this is absolutely a sunscreen I think a lot of people who try are going to love. They're just going to love how it feels, how it goes on, how it moisturizes. It really, to me even, and I've used a lot of mineral sunscreens in the past, it feels more just like a regular moisturizer that, just happens to have SPF 30. Of course, with us, the SPF 30 was not an oops. It was, intentional. We wanted sunscreen in this product, and we're really happy with how it turned out. One of the ways, though, again, some brands like SkinCeuticals, that's the one that I use quite a bit. Their SPF 50 mineral, that has a tint from iron oxides, and that tint, it works for me, which is great, but I don't think it would work for everybody. I think there will be people out there, because it's hard to get a single tint. And this is a fairly, this is a tint that definitely imparts some color to skin. It's not like a really sheer, soft, invisible tint. Murad did a good job with theirs in their City Skin SPF 50 that's got kind of a peachy tint. But even that, I've seen some videos of people with darker skin that just doesn't look so great on, even with the tint. So it gets tricky. Ultimately, we made the choice to get that SPF 30 and not lose the wonderful aesthetics that we would have lost had we pushed it all the way to SPF 50. I still understand the need, though, that some of our clients would have, or just their personal preference for whatever reason for SPF 50. And if you want that from pure mineral actives, Paula's Choice is not there yet. We're still in the SPF 30 range, and there's more and more such products coming out on the market. Not a whole ton of them in SPF 50, but enough that you could experiment and see. I would still encourage you to try this, so I think this could be a really cool benchmark. All right. Just a handful of questions here, so I think I can get them all in while we still have a few minutes here. More Dan says, if I live in a very hot climate, can I keep my skincare in the fridge? Should I? Generally, no, you shouldn't. And the reason for that is that the vast majority of skincare products, makeup as well, particularly liquid make or water-based makeup products, are their stability tends to do best at room temperature. Now, if your home setting is very hot, for example, if your indoor temperature routinely goes above 80 degrees, you don't have air conditioning, or you just, for whatever reason, you don't want to turn the air conditioning on or get it set up. Even then, I don't know that I would put any skincare in the regular fridge. You could possibly look at getting a beauty fridge where you set the temperature, the cool to maybe like around 55 to 60. Is that really necessary though? I don't know, but yeah. As a general rule, though, it's not a good idea to store your products in the fridge. And there are some bioactive ingredients in products. This can be formulation dependent, but they just don't do as well, and they can become less effective with prolonged exposure to cold. Diana says, I'm so excited about the new release. I was a product tester for the new sunscreen and loved it. It doesn't even feel like a sunscreen. Thank you, Diana. I love hearing that. Yay. I'm glad that you were a tester. That is one of the things that Paula's Choice does quite extensively. We do our own panel testing. We tabulate that feedback, and then that absolutely has an impact on the final product. And for example, if a product does not test well with our panel, or during safety and use testing, which is another one that we do, we won't launch it. We'll fix it. We'll go back to the drawing board. We'll sit down and say, okay, these are the weak spots. These are the areas that need improvement before we can push this out and say, hey, look everybody, we've got a new product. So the panel testing is just a very critical portion of that. Gosh, it's been a while since I've seen the panel test results for that. I think it did well, or we wouldn't have launched it. But now I'm kind of thinking, like, did we get like in the high 90s, for aesthetics? I wouldn't be surprised if we did. 90 out of 100. Pammy says, oh, how I wish parabens would come back. Are there any plans to put boosters in a pump type package? I hear you about parabens, Pam. They were unfairly maligned. The research doesn't support their limited use in cosmetics these days. They're incredibly effective in low levels. I could go on and on. But unfortunately, it's one of those situations where enough consumers have a negative impression of them that you're starting out on a bad foot, particularly for new customers who come to your brand, regardless of how old it is, by using parabens, because that is just on too many consumers' radars as ingredients to avoid. We have been doing more and more, and particularly in the Calm line, of looking at various preservative boosters, more gentler preservative systems, and that's going to start trickling down to or out to our other formulas as well. Again, because we want to create products that are as effective as possible, as gentle as possible. We never want to provoke irritation on skin. That is not good for skin. So that's been an interesting area to explore more further, and there's more suppliers that are producing some really reliable alternatives to, well, I wouldn't say you don't want to use these new ingredients instead of conventional preservatives. What they allow you to do is use a lower load of the conventional preservatives without losing. They kind of step in and make up for that loss of efficacy when you drop the concentration. So that's essentially what's going on there. Boosters in a pump type package, probably not, because so many of the boosters, like the 10% niacinamide, for example, are fluid formulas or like liquid gel formulas, and in a pump those can just be trickier to dispense, and it's compared with the dropper bottles. it's harder to get it back in if you want it, if you dispense too much. Susan MC says, I just started using the Barrier Repair Moisturizer, and upon application, it stings my skin for a few seconds. I thought it might be the watermelon seed oil, but the C5 moisturizer didn't sting. I've heard some random reports of the Advanced Barrier Repair Moisturizer doing that. The watermelon seed oil, even though that is a newer ingredient for us, that does not contain any known sensitizing compounds. It's a really rich source of vitamin E and linoleic acid. I suppose if you're allergic to vitamin E, you may have a problem with it, like allergic to vitamin E when used on your skin. But as you mentioned, you can use the C5 moisturizer that contains the same ingredient, and I think it actually contains at or near the same amount of that ingredient without issue. I don't, I've looked at the formula for this. I can't identify what may be at play in terms of causing this reaction for some people. I've tried to get it to sting on my skin, and it doesn't. It just doesn't. But I know that our lab team is taking a closer look at that, and we may be doing some additional testing on people who are self-described stingers, meaning people whose skin typically reacts to things that even they didn't expect to react to it, and for some reason they do. I kind of straddle that line myself. I don't react, at least in a sensorial way or visible way, and I say that because sometimes inflammation can be occurring beneath the skin and you don't know it until it's too late. But I haven't. I wouldn't consider myself a perpetual stinger. So stay tuned on that one. We certainly do have other moisturizers for the face that you can consider. Another one I like as an alternative to the Advanced Barrier Repair is the Omega Plus Complex moisturizer. I think that's a really nice one that you may want to consider as well. And feel free to contact our client services team to arrange an exchange or a refund on the Advanced Barrier Repair. If you're getting past the stinging and you're like, oh, I love everything else about this, and the C5 that you mentioned too, if you're loving that, that's a great one to stick with. The Omega has more of a souffle-like, fluffy, for lack of a better word, texture, whereas the C5 is a bit more lotiony, but still a little on the rich side. Preference, that's what it is. And then last one, Esther Lyon says, do you use blush as bronzer? You probably shouldn't unless the blush has a bronzy tone to it. Some of them do, or if the blush has more of a brown undertone to it, particularly a warm golden brown could be pretty as a bronzer. But when you're looking at blush colors like in the pink, rose, mauve, or plum, or peachy color categories, those really don't do what bronzer does. Because the bronzer is supposed to mimic a natural tan on the high points of the face that would normally see color or get a little bit darker than the rest of the surrounding skin. You can use it for things other than that, but in terms of putting a traditional blush color like medium pink, where you would put bronzer, it would just look strange for the most part. It wouldn't recreate a tan look. All right, one more question popped in, then I'll sign off. And Dylan, I had issues too with the new Barrier Repair Moisturizer as well. It stung and it wasn't moisturizing enough, sadly, but customer service was great. Found a replacement. Can't wait to try the SPF Stinger here. Okay, thank you for that feedback. I hope the replacement you found was another one of ours. But if not, ultimately, if it's a great formula and you're happy with it, then I'm happy. So on that note, I will be back next month. I think the topic next month is going to be another new product launch. We've got some coming. So, and this one, I like this one. I even got the husband to try it, and he's like, really, it's very hard to get him to switch products, and he's been using the Paula's Choice Defense Essential Glow SPF 30 pretty much since we created it. And I left this out for him. He put it on. He wore it a couple of days. And I said, what did you think of it? And he's like, I might switch to that one. I was like, yay. Different concerns and different list of bioactives in that one. They're both good. But I'm glad this is finally on the market, because it definitely took some doing. And I hope you guys will try it and that you love it as much as I do. So until next month, cheers, be good to each other, and enjoy the soon to be here summer, at least in the North America part of the world. Until next time, guys.